Tyler Hero has been the biggest present for the Miami Heat this first quarter of the regular season. Keyshawn Johnson has been given an opportunity after an unfortunate injury to a Heat player. And could Khalil Ware be the name for the second quarter of the regular season for the Miami Heat? My name is Manuel Buroz, and I'm going to talk about everything from the first quarter going into the second quarter of the season, as well as that injury bug that has unfortunately hit the Heat this season already. But first things first, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. I hope you're enjoying your time with your friends, with your families, with your close ones. Only thing that we ask for here at Heat Digest is for you guys to continue to subscribe. 82.6% of you guys are not subscribed right now. We're trying to get that number low, trying to get that 17.4 number up, and continue to give you guys as much content, as up-to-date content as possible here at Heat Digest. So please, please, please hit that subscribe button as you continue to move forward. We're going to start this episode with that injury bug. Like I mentioned, unfortunately, it's been official. Drew Smith is out for the season with an right Achilles tear. It's an unfortunate just incident for Drew because he was having such a great season. You see right here on the numbers. Nothing's going to jump out at you per se. Obviously, there's a few double-digit scoring games, but it's really just been the things that don't show up on the stat sheet. The stat numbers that you see in front of you, his December was honestly one of the best for the team. Yes, he's only averaging 8 points per game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, but if you look at and around the team, if you look at what the players, the coaches were all saying, it was the intangibles that really made him a possible starting caliber player for the team moving forward and even into the postseason. Like, I know that's a ways away, but still, that was a type of trajectory he was on. And when you throw in games like he had with the 11 points against Cleveland, shooting 3 of 6 from the 3-point line, we have 14 points against Orlando, 13 against OKC. Yes, those weren't losses, but it shows the Heat and the coaching staff that he is ready for those big moments and ready to contribute at an efficient rate. Again, 56% from the 3-point line and 52% from the field. Those are good numbers for someone that we considered a 3-and-D player at best, and now he is a very, very capable rotation player. It's unfortunate to see him go down, especially to go down with another season-ending injury. We hope the best for him in a speedy recovery, and he'll come back better than ever when he is healthy. Now, given that he did go down with the injury, now we do have a situation where we have an open roster spot, or had an open roster spot, and that has now been given to Keyshawn Johnson. He was a two-way player for the Miami Heat with their G League affiliate, the Sioux Falls. In Sioux Falls of the Skyforce team, and he was putting up great numbers. After doing my research and I pulled up his numbers here, 34.9 minutes per game. He's putting up 21 points, 8 rebounds, and shooting an effective 54% from the field and 39% from the 3-point line. I'll give him that 40% because you're shooting it on about 4 attempts. That's pretty good averages for a big-bodied, I would say forward, maybe a 4 if you want to push it. I don't think he can play that 5 position. He's too small, but he's very athletic. He's aggressive. You see right there, 2.8 offensive rebounds per game, also averaging a steal and almost a block per game. I think he's going to be a nice I see him right now being not necessarily in the Drew Smith role where he's going to be, possibly starting right away. Of course, that's not going to happen here. We'll get into who I think the next starter should be for the Heat moving forward now with Drew Smith being down. But I do think Johnson's going to get some minutes. I think he'll get spot minutes here. I think he will benefit from just kind of going in there and causing chaos, going in there and being someone that the other team maybe isn't ready for. They're not completely sure how to play him. I think he's going to be able to get a lot of rebounds, which is what we need right now, especially on the defense side of things. Even offensively, give us second chance points. We're not a very good offensive rebounding team aside from maybe Bam at times. So if we can get second, third chance opportunities, that's always going to be good for a team who struggles to score the ball like the Heat do. So I do think that this will be a good development opportunity for Johnson. Again, he was already on a two-way. Now he's just converted to a standard deal. And I think moving forward, we will benefit from that, giving him, again, minutes now. And so in the postseason, when that time does come, which I'm sure he will, maybe he won't win a series. Obviously, playoff games and playoff series are often won by your role players. But I think he can maybe win us a quarter in a situation where, a must-win game 5 or game 3 or anything like that, a quarter could mean the difference. So I think in the long term, this could be a good move for the Heat, developing Johnson early. Now, one thing I will say before moving on to my first quarter kind of recap, want to keep an eye on name Isaiah Stevens, another point guard for the Skyforce, 13 points per game, 8 rebounds, also almost 4 rebounds a game. just someone to keep an eye on. He's been another one that the Heat have been very, very high on with his success in the G League. So I think just giving you guys some names to keep an eye in case he does maybe make an appearance every now and then, especially at the end of the year. Maybe give some opportunity. He's now going to be on that two-way deal because Johnson's converted to the standard deal. So I'm excited to see what Stevens does for continue to do in the G League and maybe possibly for the Heat in a game here or there throughout the season. Now we're going to move on to the first quarter mark for me. The biggest things taken away from the first quarter this season for the Miami Heat, it hasn't really been a lot to talk about. If I'm being honest with you guys, it's been what feels like the name of the game with the Heat just being okay. You know, we're 6th right now in the conference. That's not bad. I would consider that a win. I would consider that a good thing. We're one game above 500. We are, again, just outside the play-in, which if we can avoid the play-in, I would consider this season a success, being a team that we're always in the play-in, especially in that 7th and 8th spot. I know we've done good in the past with it, but I would prefer to not have to play an extra game to get into the postseason, especially with how our offense can be at times. Right now, again, 14 and 13. We're 10.5 games out of first place. We're 3 games out of 4th. We're a game and a half out of 5th. Only half a game in front of 7 and 8. It's tight. It's tight, especially from behind us. Looking ahead, I really would have loved if the Heat would have, taken that win against the Magic. Hopefully they get their next one against them tomorrow to try and shrink the gap a little bit. But I do think best case scenario, we're looking at a 4th to 5th seed. If we can do that going into the All-Star break, I would consider that a good thing, good moving in the right direction. In the end, where we were at the beginning of the year, when we were, below 500, when we were fighting to get to 500, when we were losing games that we shouldn't be losing, to where we are now, a success. Overall, I would give the first quarter for me, first quarter grade, C+, C-. It's a C for sure. I think it's a C because I'm gonna go C+ because we're not. Miles, we're not where I would like us to be, but where we were to where we are now is definitely an improvement, and we are above average. So I'll give us that C+. Not close to a B, but C+, just because I feel like the Heat have the opportunity to continue to move forward, and it's kind of been a slow burn because, again, that's kind of the MO of the Heat, to be that team that uses the regular season to get better. We're not really punting the regular season like we've done in the past, which I think is a good thing. I think that's an adjustment that we have made, and I credit the staff and the players for taking the regular season a little more seriously. But overall, it just hasn't really been what we would expect from a team where we have Tyler Hero being a possible all-star player. We have Bam Adebayo, who's struggling, unfortunately, offensively at 16 points per game. Jimmy Butler, who's struggling offensively right now. Jaime Jaquez, Duncan Robinson, things just aren't really forming right now, which is why I'm also high on the rest of the season, because we're all going to get it together, hopefully. Just a matter of when and if we have enough time when that time does come. Looking at the numbers here for the Heat, again, you look at there's a lot of green, a lot of red, and a lot of white. Pretty much, again, an average team right now up to this point. The best parts of the season, according to the stats, 3-point percentage, 37.4%. That's good for top 10 in the NBA. We're not a bad shooting team. We just don't get a lot of opportunities. We don't get a lot of chances. It's really one shot and done at times for the Heat, and that's really what's hurt us, and that's why our field goal percentage is 21st in the association. We're 45%. That screams to me a team that just doesn't get a lot of second chance opportunities, so we have to try and do that. Again, that's why I think Johnson and maybe Aware in the next few games of the season could possibly help out in giving this offense some more chances to score the ball. You're putting up 112 points per game, again, average in the association. You're everything else is just pretty much average, if I'm being honest with you guys. It just isn't been something that where we're like, wow. The only wow this season, absolutely, without question, I'm sure everybody will agree when I pull it up, it's been Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero has had an absolutely amazing season. You're looking right now, these are the all-star ballots, I guess you can say, for the 2025 game. These are the backcourt guards, obviously, in the East. Now, it's organized by points per game. So, LaMelo at the top left is number 1 right now with 30 points per game. Then Dame, then Tyrese, then Cam, Jalen, Cade. Those are your top 6. Tyler's number 7. And honestly, I think he has a much better case than those other 6 guards. Maybe not all of them. I think he has a better case than LaMelo, Tyrese, Cam. I think those 3 I would take Tyler, because Tyler's putting up the numbers and he's winning games. At the end of the day, he's ahead of all 3 of those teams in the standings. And the other 3 that I didn't mention, Dame, Brunson, and Cade, Dame is having a little bit of an up and down season. So I feel like If he gets it, I wouldn't be surprised. If he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Brunson's going to be a lock, to be honest with you guys. Cade might be the first-time All-Star, especially maybe as a reserve. So I think Tyler's got a chance here. I really do think so. I don't think he's going to be a starter per se, but I think he can be a reserve and possibly an injury replacement if a player does obviously go down. You still have Donovan Mitchell. You still got Trae Young. Even Darius Garland might get some votes, but I think Tyler might get a good chance. Obviously, it's also on us to vote for him and definitely vote for him to be the All-Star because I think he's been the only All-Star this season for the Heat. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think, Bam's struggling offensively. As the other numbers aren't bad. It's just that 16 points per game is not what you expected from possibly a superstar in the league, possibly a star in the league. Jimmy, in the contract year, you thought he'd do a little bit better. He hasn't, unfortunately, and a lot of the off-the-court stuff has affected that. But I think Tyler Hero has been the biggest bright spot. And we look at the numbers, it backs that up. We're looking at his career numbers right here. 13 points per game his rookie year. Then you got 15, 20, 20, 20. Now he's jumped up to 23.4, almost 24 points per game. And all the averages are pretty much gone up as well. Career high field goal percentage, a career high career high 3-point percentage, Things have been going up for Tyler. And it's not necessarily a big leap per se. Again, about 3 to 4 points per game is obviously a jump, but what it shows is more so just the consistent growth. And you knew he was going to finally figure it out. I'm glad that he's done it now, and I think we needed it. If it wasn't for Tyler here, we would be talking about this team possibly tanking, possibly selling, possibly just blowing it up and just restarting everything. So Tyler here has been the thing that's held this team together, and I have no shame in saying that, and I don't think anybody in the comments or anybody out there would disagree. It has been a Tyler Hero show, and hopefully it continues into the second quarter of the season and the rest of the way. Speaking of the second quarter focus. What should be the second quarter focus? Now, I'm talking about first quarter, second quarter, all this kind of stuff. So the way I broke it down for the season is season in 4 quarters. First quarter for me was opening day until Christmas Day. A lot of people like to say that the season doesn't really start until Christmas, so that's kind of where I put the first quarter mark. Not exactly a quarter of the season. It could be 21 games for some teams, 25 games for some other teams. It just depends. But that's the first quarter for me. Second quarter is going to be Christmas to All-Star Weekend, which is on February 16th, I believe, somewhere around there. So that's the second quarter. Third quarter is going to be the rest of the regular season going into the postseason, that playoff push for those teams that are going to be postseason contenders. And then obviously the fourth quarter will be the actual playoffs themselves. For the second quarter, I broke it down for the Heat. I looked in the numbers, added them up, all that kind of stuff. 26 games. 26 games in the second quarter between Christmas Day and the final game before the All-Star break. 26 games. Only 9. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. 9 home games for the Miami Heat in the next quarter of the season. Again, according to my breakdown. 9 home games. Now, of the 26 games that are left, or that are coming up, 17 are against playoff opponents. Over 50% are with playoff teams or with teams who are, by my calculations, and again, up to everybody, that obviously the number will change. I counted, if you're right now, currently, as I'm recording this video on Christmas Day, if you are a play-in team or a playoff team today, not last year, so I didn't count the Sixers who right now are in the playoff picture. I didn't count any of the teams from last year's playoffs. I'm talking about just this year. Teams that if we finish the year today, they would be in the playoffs, either playoffs or play-in. I counted them as a playoff team. 17 of those opponents are on the Heat schedule. Of those 17 games, 11 are on the road. This next quarter will let us know how good we are going to be in the rest of the season. Why? 26 games, 17 against playoff teams. If you can go 500 in those playoff games, if you are playoff opponents, 500 or above, you let us know, okay, we can hang with these top teams at honestly, a good sample size. I think it's a very good sample size if we're talking about a quarter of the season. The reason I also say this, the rest of those games, those 11 other games that are not playoff opponents, if you can, you should go above 500. I'm looking at not 9-2. Let's go 7-4. If you can go 7-4, if you can go 8-3 would be ideal. But if you can go 7-4, that lets us know that you're also handling the opponents that you should handle. You can't lose to the Brooklyn Nets. You can't lose to the Detroit Pistons, even though they're making a little bit of a push here. I'm not gonna dog on the Pistons because they're actually a very good team this year. And I think they'll be a possible playoff, tough out if they're in the play-in. But I'm talking about those type of teams, the teams that are not established, not the Cleveland, not the Bostons of the world, not the Thunder of the world, but those young teams and those teams who are not trying to win right now. You should be able to beat those teams. That's why I said 7-4. I'm being honest with you. 8-3 is probably what I should be looking at in those non-playoff opponents. the Miami Heat are going to be tested this next quarter. It's going to make or break our season. I firmly believe that. One person that I'm really, really excited for, though, is finally we could be getting the Khalil Ware game, the Khalil Ware experience we've all been looking for. This is Tyler here on Ware season so far. I just look forward to the growth of our chemistry, our two-man action, and the growth of himself. And then you look here at Eric Spoelstra. Khalil is giving you just a wow factor right now. Just want to build on that right now. The biggest thing that we have seen from Ware or haven't seen is that he's just been inconsistent, and he's been a rookie. He's been a rookie flat out. Like, you can't emphasize that anymore. These are his numbers in November. Averaging literally 2 points per game, only averaging 7 minutes per game. He was making a lot of, rookie mistakes. He wasn't able to he didn't live up to the expectations that we all as a fan base and even as an organization, I think they expected more from him off rip. But, even Bam mentioned he didn't play his rookie year. And Ware is getting valuable minutes. Now, obviously, when he went to the G League and the Sky Force, we were a little bit hesitant. We were like, we think he should be playing. We think he should be kind of playing through these mistakes. But it's going to work out in the end because I firmly believe that. Now you look at his 2 games in December already. He's putting up 8 points and 9 points respectively. He's averaging 15 minutes per game, almost 16. He's got a block a game. He's got a steal a game. He's shooting 80% from the field. He has been looking a lot better. I firmly believe this second quarter, an underrated player will be Khalil Ware because Kevin Love right now is hurt, so you're got some minutes there. Drew Smith goes down, so even though Johnson's going to look to fill that role on the roster, I think those minutes got to go to Ware. They have to go to Ware because the only other person maybe could be more minutes for Hyman, even though he's already getting a decent amount of minutes. Maybe more for Robinson, maybe more for Rozier. Like, there's minutes to be spaced. So those minutes can be spaced out, but I do think Ware has to get some of those minutes. He just has to, especially now that you traded Thomas Bryant. You have an opening there in that big man rotation. It's time to put Ware in there. And either he's going to, rise to the occasion, or he's going to learn from his mistakes. And when playoff time does come, because at the end of the day, the Heat are going to make the playoffs. Like, I don't think anybody here is questioning whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. Again, keeping in mind the whole Jimmy Butler situation, keeping in mind any injuries and like that. If this is the team that finishes the rest of the season, maybe a trade here or there along the margins, but this is the team that's going to finish the rest of the season, they will make the playoffs. How, whether it's a lock or a play-in, that's still up in the air. But they will be a playoff team. This is a playoff team, especially in the East right now, who, even though some teams are finding their groove, it's still not what the West is. So within the East, the Heat will make the playoffs. The question is, when we get there, is Ware ready to have an impact in the minutes that he plays? He's not going to play 30 minutes a game. He's not even going to play 25 minutes a game. But playing 20 minutes a game, I think is a perfect scenario for him. Perfect scenario. You give him enough of Coach Spoelstra said it there. He's getting a lot of wow factors. You look at him, he passes the eye test. If he can continue to just bottle that up and continue to do that moving forward and build, like Coach Spoelstra said, on those moments, we're going to be talking about a very, very good rotational player who can give you that vertical lob threat, who can move Bam to the 4, maybe open up his offense a little bit, give less stress on him to be able to go and just create for himself instead of creating for others all the time. Khalil Ware, to me, is the underlining story for the second quarter of the season. The main storyline for me, can Tyler Hero be an all-star player? He's been that up to this point. Can he finish it out and get to that game? Or if Tyler doesn't become an all-star, but he becomes one of those snubs, I like that. Because if you remember correctly in the past, even when he's had good moments and good seasons, no one's ever looked at him as an all-star snub. If he can be an all-star snub, I think he's done his job and really put the world on notice. Obviously, you also have the Jimmy Butler situation. I do think Bam has to get his groove into it, but I think he will. So that's why I'm not really harping on that too much. There's a lot of storylines going into the second quarter of the season, but I think those are my main 2. Can Tyler be that all-star caliber player that I expect him to be? And can Khalil Ware finally get some of those burns, some of those minutes into the season? But comment down below, those 26 games and those 17 playoff opponents specifically, what do you think the Heat's record will be in those 17 games? Obviously, you guys don't know who, what, where, on that stuff, but in the 17 games, do you think that he can go above 500? Do you think they'll go 500? Then go under 500? Comment down below what you think that record will be in those 17 games and the 26 games overall for the next quarter of the season. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next one. Merry Christmas and enjoy holidays.